Hello.
Hey,
All right. So you can say your opening statement, and then I'll say mine, and we'll get this started.
all right. So I'm Kyle. I am taking the capitalist side of this debate. I'm going to prove that although capitalism has its flaws, it is way more fit to a society than communism.
All right. Well, so I think we both need to agree before we start this that communism is going to happen. It's going to be the end goal. There's no really debating that. It's pretty much just a fact. Um, so we're probably pretty much. I'm guessing your sort of argument will be just it will be just arguing that need we currently need
Yeah,
capitalism right now to
yeah.
function. Um, well, first of all, I'd just like to get your definition of communism and capitalism, just
All
to
right.
get this started with. Just like in your own words, what you think communism is and what you think capitalism is.
All right. So communism for me, or like my own definition, is the idea that um, everybody gets a common ownership over the means of production, and the communism, the system, would not rely on class or money.
Yeah, there are some other things in that, like
Yeah,
abolishing private property,
yeah,
stuff like that. Everybody gets food, housing, stuff like that.
yeah,
My definition of capitalism, my personal definition, would be a market economy with a supply and demand based production of goods and services where individuals and businesses own capital goods.
yeah,
There, of course, there are some other stuff in that too that I don't want to. That's just my short definition. The actual textbook definition of capitalism is an economic system in which private individuals or business own
yeah,
capital goods, the production of goods and services based on supply and demand in the general market, known as a market economy, rather than through central planning, known as a planned economy or command economy.
yeah.
In my definition of communism, it's one of these two things: a political and economic system that seeks to create a classless society. Sorry.
You're good.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I would say that it's a political and economic system that seeks to create a classless society in which the major means of production are controlled and owned by the public. Either that or an economic ideology that advocates for a classless society um, with commonly owned um, with production of goods commonly owned
Yeah,
instead of by uh, companies and stuff like that. And it's uh, it's a direct democracy. There's no capital, no there's no capital, there's no private property, and etc.
yeah.
So yeah, um, I'll let you start off your argument.
All right. So one of my big issues with communism is how innovation works, because innovation is, while it seems really simple, it's not, because you have that idea, right? Innovation is basically creating new things better than the thing before it. It's trying to increase efficiency, bring down costs, and all that. Um, but the very first step of innovation involves strategic thinking. The first idea you start with is to what do you need, basically? What do you need to get an advantage in the market? And in communism, there's not exactly a market. The market is not set up to be competitive, and there isn't exactly a market. So, right off the bat, innovation and communism sort of clash. But if we move through to the next point, the next step is trial and error. That you want this thing that betters the world, and I mean it's hard. Everybody's gonna fail, and this step two relies on the importance of failure. As you fine tune your strategy and manage your idea, you're bound to fail. Stuff doesn't always work, and that can be really discouraging. Now, in capitalism, oftentimes one thing that you have to do while in this failure process is you have to my bad you have to outweigh what it's you have to outweigh the cost that it takes on you, all the failures and the stuff, and the personal profit. uh, the the humans are basically made to be selfish. It's just how we are made. And when you're making something,
If I can interrupt there, well, I mean, I would definitely argue, in the revolution, there comes a cultural revolution. So, I mean, if it's not so solved by the end of this cultural revolution, greed, and I didn't even understand how you can be greedy or anything like that in communism. Because what would you be greedy of? Money? No, it's gone. You greedy of food? Good, take food. 60% of food in the U.S. is just wasted. I would.
yeah, but greed in a communist society would ultimately tear it apart because
Wait, what? How would a greed in a communist society tear it apart? How can there
so
be
you
greed if
have
there's nothing to be
so
greedy of?
everything is publicly owned, right? Say you want
No,
this
not
land.
everything is publicly owned. It's not
Is
just like, hey, bro, I want to use the house right now. All
is
right, bro.
land in general
Private
free?
property isn't a thing.
I
So,
know, but it's so land in general is just public
no,
property.
there's still
Anybody can go
personal
on it,
property.
right?
So, you still have personal property. You know that, right?
Yes, I'm well aware.
So, how can you be greedy if you have everything you need and everybody else has
You
everything
want
they
more.
need?
You want more. That's in communism.
What
If
more would you get though?
you
You have
want more,
everything.
you want to be control of others. You want to own things.
You're forgetting about the cultural revolution that happens with a revolution. I'm not even going to argue that point anymore.
Okay.
I'm just saying there's a cultural revolution when a revolution occurs. That's just basic knowledge.
Okay. Um,
This isn't just like, oh, revolution one day, next day you're like anarcho-communist.
I'm well aware. If you'd allow me to finish my next point, further reliance on failure.
Yeah, and then I'd like to go into the content of capitalism.
So basically, like I was saying, you have to outweigh the cost that it's having on you and what you are going to get out of it. I don't think I stated that well before, but what you are going to get out of it. And um, generally, what you get out of it in a capitalist society is profit, money, and that fuels people. In a communist society, you don't exactly get the personal, like you get it, but not to the extent that you would get it in capitalism, and that is discouraging. You're like, well, if I'm going to make this and I'm not exactly going to profit a lot over it, what is the point of making it?
I mean, it's human nature to innovate.
Human nature to what?
To innovate. I
Yeah,
mean, if
and you can't exactly
it helps the well-being of individuals, so why would they not innovate?
because they don't.
If
If
they
they
want
have,
to
if they
innovate
have
and
something,
become, if they
if
want
they
to
have
innovate
something,
and become better, it's still for their personal gain
yes,
because
and
it's making their life
if they have
easier.
something that works well, that works in this
It's human
society,
nature to always want better.
I understand, but the fact of the matter is, if you have something that works, it's not always you. If you want to innovate, it's not always worth it if you already have something that you can do. And in capitalism, you might already have something that
Okay, then why does Jeff Bezos? Not Jeff Bezos. Why does I don't know why I just said Jeff Bezos. Why do these big like companies still innovate? Because they already have money. Why
yeah,
would they
because
need
they
more?
want more money.
They want better they want better personal property. Like it's not that complicated. That's a reason that if
No,
you want
but
something
then
better, you're gonna do it. That's human nature, and
yeah,
which is why they want
the
more money.
failure part of it, like I said, the reliance on failure for this part of innovation, you have to outweigh the good of it and the failure. And frankly, failure, it's a lot more powerful than you think. And if it just betters society, but you already have something that works and you keep
But
failing on it,
it's human
what's the
nature to
point?
want better. That's
I
why we
know, I'm
innovate now.
saying they want better. They're trying to innovate. But if they keep failing over and over and over again, they start to think, well, what's in it for me? Why is it really that important? If I already have
Then
stuff that is
okay, so
good, is
if
it really that important to keep going at the cost of my own failure? In capitalism, you get rewarded, you get the money, which is another factor that is pushing you to do that. And communism, it's just for the better good. And you have, like, I know it sounds terrible, but frankly, it's human nature to want something better, like you said. But if you
it's
keep
human nature.
failing,
So
if you keep failing out at it, you start weighing the whether it's worth it or not.
so you just contradicted yourself. If
How?
if a big company if a big company kept on failing at something and they already had money, why would they keep on doing it?
Because they want more. It's
It you just said good. You proved my point. Like
what was your point? Tell me how I proved your point.
if let's say Apple's making a new phone and they
Okay.
keep on failing at this,
Yeah.
what would if they already are one of the biggest companies in the world? Like they want more, correct?
Yes.
They want, which is
They want
why.
more money.
So that's you agree that's human nature to want more and
Yeah.
want be better. So
It's human. You're
like
kind of misinterpreting my
no,
point.
I'm
It
not
is
because guess
human
what?
it is human nature to want to be better. But if you keep failing at something, there has to be a second motivating factor,
Exactly.
which
So
is money. In a communist society, if you want better and you keep failing at it, there is not exactly a second factor.
listen. So let's say Apple, all right, they want to make a new phone, but they keep on failing at it. If they
Okay.
already have a ton of money,
They're not content
if
with
it's
that
not
amount of
human
money.
nature
They
to
are not
always
content. It is human nature to always want more. To always want more.
exactly
If you have
to
if
the
you have
extent
money, you want more of
in
it.
which they'll keep on trying until they succeed.
No. Like I said, you have to start weighing the
But
cost.
you literally just contradicted yourself multiple times
How?
in that
You
sense.
you outweigh the cost.
If Apple already has so much money
Yes.
and
They keep
and
failing out at it.
they
They
don't
want to
need
get
more,
but they
then why
want
wouldn't
more.
they
They
weigh into
want
they
more. They
want
want
that
more
new
money.
innovation?
Okay. So what let me explain this again. So, in communism, you want to get better, right? But
Yep,
you keep failing over and over and over again. You start weighing the cost, like you do in capitalism too.
exactly.
But if you
And if you
decide, if
already
you
have
decide in a communist society that you already have something that works and you keep failing at it, why keep going? In a
if you
capitalist
already have
society,
so
the
much
reason
money and you keep on failing at
it
making
is
something
literally
better,
human nature to want more.
exactly,
You
you're
want
just
more money.
contradicting
You
yourself.
just proved my point.
No, I didn't. Like, okay,
Yes,
like
you
no, I
did.
didn't.
There has to be a second factor, okay?
No,
That's
there
just
doesn't.
if you keep failing, you start weighing the cost.
Listen, all right, just listen and don't misinterpret my point. If you have so much money that you're one of the biggest people or companies in the world, and you keep failing, and you already have money, what's the point in keeping on, like
Said
going
this
on?
like 4 times. You want more money because
You
money
want
gives you
you
power.
want more innovations. Like it's
No, you
not
want
that
more money,
complicated.
which gives you power.
I know. I'm talking
Money
about
is
a
not
communist
innovation.
society.
In a communist society, you don't have that. You
No, you
don't.
do, because you want innovation. It's human nature.
Yeah,
It's more complicated than
but
you actually think.
if you fail over and over again, you start to think, is it worth it or not? If you have
If a
something,
big company won't gain that, they won't, say Apple made the iPhone 13.
yeah,
Literally, like, if
they would gain money.
they're not
They
gonna
would,
double all of their profits over a large span of
it
time.
doesn't have to be doubling too. It's just
It
more.
doesn't necessarily have to be doubling. What do you want me to say? Like, if they don't
It's
add a
if
third of
you
their
gain.
profits onto
Yeah, you
that,
gain more money. That's
you gain more innovations. Like, it's not
you
that
gain. Innovation is not
you
money.
are definitely strawmanning, bro.
I'm
Jesus,
what?
you're strawmanning.
What does that mean?
It means you're changing my argument to make it more simple so that it's easier to friggin' argue
It's
against.
not.
Well, no,
Your
you're not
argument
even
is
strawmanning. You're just
basically you
completely
want your
disregarding my
audience,
argument.
not your audience. Your point is you want more innovation, right?
Yeah, just like you want more money. You
Okay.
can't argue that
So
they
let
do it
me.
only for money.
You're not doing it. You're doing it for innovation.
And
If you keep failing,
if you keep failing and you
you
already
start
have
wondering
too
if
much,
it's worth it. And if you already have something that works in a communist society, there isn't another
oh my
benefactor.
god. Fine, there's literally two factors into capitalist society. There's money, there's human nature to innovate.
Yeah.
All right. So if you no longer have that human nature to innovate,
That's
this
not going to happen.
tiny little so you just contradicted yourself again.
No,
If you
I'm
don't
not.
want to, if you
Said it's if human nature doesn't want to innovate
no,
anymore.
I meant like if you don't like have the human nature, if you don't have the need to innovate like so much
You'll
that you're
still
gonna keep
try.
on trying until you do it, then this like tiny weakling that's money is not going to
It's not a tiny weakling, though. Look at our society. What puts you in power?
This is going nowhere because we're both showmanning each other. Let's move on to the content of capitalism.
No, I want to get this point.
I mean, you've just strawman my argument like multiple times.
How?
Okay. So if you money's not, listen.
Look at our society, my guy.
Oh my god,
what
shut
gives
up
you
and let me
power?
talk, bro. Jesus Christ. Like, be respectful in a debate. If you're having, okay, so if Apple was innovating, they already have a net worth of over $2 trillion. They already have a net worth of over $2 trillion. Then what's the point in having more money if that only goes up to an extent? If they keep on failing multiples, like hundreds of thousands of times, if they keep on failing, then money only goes so far. So I could argue the exact same argument that you're arguing, just add a second factor in there. And there's more than one factor. We're
Money
definitely taking this too
does go
simply.
so far, though. Money is
No, it doesn't.
yes, money is controlling of our society, whether you like it or not.
Oh my god,
is the
it
world
is
we live
controlling
in.
our society, but to an extent, human nature is a lot more powerful than money.
You're missing my point.
And
Human nature, yes, human nature is powerful.
And I still don't understand how this is an argument for capitalism.
This is an argument against communism.
You're acting like money being the main factor in innovation is a good thing.
No, I'm not. You want okay? I'm gonna explain this one more time. In a communist society, you have we agree that that human nature is to innovate. It is a strong it is a strong factor.
Dude, I can't even. It's.
Are you gonna let me?
I've argued against this.
Are you gonna let me talk?
You stop talking, G.
That's because I was thinking. I was literally about to say something. We agreed that human nature is to innovate.
Yeah, and also money would add a decent amount of.
Yeah, money. Yeah.
You also got to see, like,
Are you going to let me finish my point?
You're still not factoring in other factors in innovation. In a communist society, it's not just one factor like
Okay,
innovation.
what are the other factors?
Okay, in a communist society, so mainly there would really be no big companies like that. So I don't know. I'm not going to argue big companies or anything like that. So there are other factors such as the need to be greater than others.
Yeah,
That's I don't know
that's
if that'd be
also
solved
in
in a cultural
capitalism.
society, but in a cultural revolution. But if you innovate something, then your rankings, no matter just in society,
I get
go
it.
up.
It gets more.
So there's
But
multiple factors
you
that you're
weigh,
failing to
yes,
factor
I
in.
know. All of those factors are in capitalism too.
Not really.
Yes, money
Because
equals
the working
power.
class, are you telling me that you know every single person that helped
No, I
that
don't.
helped make each Apple
It's a
iPhone?
generalization.
Do you know every single person that helped make the iPhone?
No.
Yeah, because in capitalism, the big company and the CEOs and the founders, they take credit for
Yeah.
all of this.
I
So
never
that's
said they
not
didn't.
in
That is a flaw in
capitalism.
capitalism. That is a flaw in capitalism.
Yes, there
But
are
innovation
hundreds of
is much
flaws in
more
capitalism.
easier in a capitalist society.
No, it wouldn't.
Yes, it is. You fail over and over and over again, and the only factor is is your need to innovate, and you have wanting to be more.
Hundreds of other factors.
Sometimes that is not enough. If you fail enough times, that is not enough.
You're
Capitalism
strong-heading
adds
hard right now. I've said
what?
multiple times there are hundreds of other factors. Not
I
just
know.
simply
I just
that
said
cut and
there are
dry.
more factors. Did you? You fail over and over and over again, and you have all these hundreds of factors, right?
Hmm.
At the end of the day,
And half of these aren't with capitalism, by the way.
all of them are with communism
I
or
said
capitalism.
capitalism.
Yeah,
How?
all of them
How?
are with capitalism. Okay, tell me the 100s of other factors.
Well, I'm not going to name hundreds of
Well,
factors
name the
for
one.
you. Okay. Well, I wouldn't. I don't know too much about this individual idea, but
Okay.
so I'm not going to argue this very much. But
Okay. Well, you're making the point, so I assume you can argue it.
what? I don't know every single factor in
I know.
innovation in a communist
You say
society.
there's more, and you only gave me two. I want to know
And you
more.
didn't let me finish, and you interrupted me, G.
No, I didn't.
Like honestly.
Just
Okay, so let's say so there's a lot more free time in communism, like literally all of your day. So if you're doing all this with free time and stuff like that, oh shit, wait, okay, I'm gonna go AFK for a couple minutes. You can, yeah, I have to do something real quick. Hold on.
okay.
It'll be like 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, I'm back.
You're back.
All right, yeah. So other factors, there's a lot more in a capitalist society, and stuff like that. It's there. I mean, I honestly argue that sometimes there's less innovation to create because I'm sure in companies there's a wait, hold on, I want to fact check myself real quick.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So there won't be in an income society, there won't be less productivity. It'll just be more equally distributed among the disciplines. People aren't just going to sit around in their whole lives. Um, yeah. So it'll just innovation will just be a healthier, less destructive way. I mean, currently it's all for self gain.
Yeah.
There's and I think that's extremely counterproductive. I believe that capitalism is counterproductive. Um, but yeah. So
So
what?
go ahead. What's your factor?
Oh shoot, factors. Well, there are hundreds of other factors, but
Yeah, you've said that.
it'll what?
I said you've said that before.
Mainly, I would like to move on from factors because they
Dude,
what?
you're gonna tell me there's
This
if
is going in circles. G, do you not see this? I've
I
made my
do see
argument
that, but
hundreds, like
I've
10
seen my
times.
argument hundreds of times, and I want to know factors that you claim that there are hundreds.
I'm not going to name every single factor for
I
you.
want more than two.
Okay, guess what? There are way less factors in a capitalist society because it's all for personal gain. It's an extremely destructive and counterproductive, uh, in a counterproductive, manner. I find the idea that
Humans
society must always
are
be progressing as quickly as possible to be a little bit reductive. Our
humans are
society right
naturally
now is destroying
selfish.
the
It's how it
environment
works. You
for
want
their
more.
personal gain. Do you really think that's do you really think that's right to destroy the society for personal gain?
It's doesn't really matter if it's right or not. I don't think it's right either,
So
but
why are
that's
you
how
arguing
people
it?
work.
That
It's
is not how people work.
it
You're
is
forgetting about the
how
Cultural
people work.
Revolution. Every capitalist forgets about the Cultural Revolution. There's always a Cultural Revolution with a a revolution. There always is. It's just basic knowledge.
Okay.
And
What's your point with that?
what? I mean, if a cultural revolution happens, human nature is going to change. So, I mean, it'll be less for
So,
personal gain and more for the overall gain
since
of
the
society.
okay,
But there
since
is still personal gain.
yeah, since the beginning of time, humans have always done stuff for their personal gain.
Okay.
How
And
long? I don't know how long humans have been on this earth. Honestly, I don't know if anybody knows. But what makes you think that's just immediately going to change after a cultural revolution?
bro, my brain hurts. Gee, it's
How?
a cultural revolution.
We've had
Regular
multiple,
culture
we've had like
changes.
we've had
Selfishness
multiple of
will
those already.
what?
We've had multiple cultural revolutions.
Name multiple cultural revolutions that we've had in the past century.
Century.
Yeah,
Um,
and
a
that's a
recent century
very widespread in America.
in America. We've
Yeah,
only been around for like 200 years.
we've been
Like
around
not
for around
exactly.
300 years, and yeah, if there's been if we've already had so many, you should be able to name multiple.
Okay. Well, with the Industrial Revolution came a cultural revolution.
Well, hold on. Shit. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Um, yeah, yeah. There's really been no cultural revolutions unless you're frigging counting every single tiny change.
No,
But
I'm not. The Industrial Revolution was a huge change. And
do
with
you
that,
have
the
any proof
Cultural
behind that?
Revolution was
What do you define as a cultural revolution?
um
Like a massive change in our culture?
yeah. What
And
do you
also, people would argue that the Industrial Revolution is happening right now. So how can a cultural revolution come in the early stages of Industrial Revolution when we're still in the Industrial Revolution?
look at before the Industrial Revolution
Yeah,
and now?
innovation happened a lot.
Yeah.
That does
So has
not
a
mean
cultural change.
the Industrial Revolution wasn't a revolution. Like it wasn't like by definition, it wasn't necessarily a revolution.
I never said it was. It's just what it's called.
Okay, then why did you say there was a cultural revolution?
Because
Did
a cultural
individual
revolution
people
came with it.
change after, before and after the Industrial Revolution? No, because it's not
Yes,
over yet.
it did. Stuff still changed just because it isn't
Okay,
over.
then every single war was a cultural revolution.
No,
Every single
when did I say that?
people changed after the Cold War. They changed after
Yeah,
World War II.
yeah,
Does that mean it's a cultural revolution? Because people
no,
change.
no.
People
But
changed because they were more happy with the innovations they had. It's not a cultural revolution. They're
okay,
not
what's your
completely
definition
different.
of a cultural revolution then?
Well, my definition of a cultural revolution would be a significant change in the culture of individuals.
So, literally the Industrial Revolution.
Oh my God. I think my brain just committed suicide. No. The Industrial Revolution brought innovation. It didn't bring individual change
Yes,
within
it
the
did.
human
Look at
nature.
before and after. It literally changed the society we're
Did you
looking
go
at
back
now,
and
which,
ask
by
the
your definition, is a cultural revolution.
No, it's not. Just because you're more happy with your innovations
Look
does
at
not
the
mean it's a
different
cultural
way that
revolution.
society lives. Okay?
That is not a cultural revolution.
What is a okay? Tell me
If
what you
individual
think a
people,
cultural
if
revolution is. Show me
individual
what.
people's
Show
natures
me.
change, that's a cultural revolution. A cultural
Okay. Show me
revolution
what a
failed
before
in
and an
what?
after would look of a cultural revolution.
Bro, this is
I'm
if a cultural
I'm
revolution
asking.
happened, it would be you would see nature human nature changing before and after the normal revolution, which cultural revolutions can happen by themselves too.
So you just
But
gave me two completely different definitions of cultural
oh my
revolution.
God, what are you talking about?
Your very first definition was when the culture of human.
No, I literally am just going more in depth because you can't just like listen the first time.
I did.
Literally,
If you
literally
go
a
back on this
cultural
clip, the first
revolution
time you
is
said a
when
culture.
human nature or how the individuals act changes from in I would not really short period of time, but a period of time. It's not because before and after the Industrial Revolution, humans still had the nature like what human nature changed in this industrial cultural revolution. If the and also a cultural revolution isn't just the beginning of a regular revolution. It's spread out within the entire industrial revolution.
I
So I would
know.
argue the industrial revolution is currently still happening.
Yeah,
So
that doesn't mean it isn't a cultural
that
revolution.
does mean it's not a cultural
No, it
revolution. So are
doesn't.
you saying we're in the middle of a cultural revolution right now?
Mm,
Just because
I
people are
wouldn't be
changing
surprised. I
as
wouldn't be
time
surprised.
goes on does not mean that it's a cultural revolution.
I never said it did.
Well, I mean, you're arguing that it did.
No, I'm not. I'm arguing that what is happening right now, if we look way
Okay,
before.
wait. So is coronavirus did a cultural revolution happen with coronavirus?
No.
Because I would argue my morals changed because of coronavirus.
Yeah, but did your human nature change?
No, which is why
Then
it's
it's
not
not
a
a
cultural
cultural
revolution.
revolution. Yeah, coronavirus is not a
People
cultural
still had the innovation to invent. It still had the
for personal gain.
urge to invent before the
Yeah,
industrial revolution.
I know because they wanted more money.
So what changed?
What do you mean?
What human
What?
nature changed in the industrial revolution and
Uh,
before and
Give me a
apparently
second.
after because we're still in it.
I
But
have to go AFK real quick.
once he proves this point, we're gonna move on to the content of capitalism because I'm sick of this.
All right, I'm back.
All
Are
right. Do you want to prove your point, or move on to content of capitalism?
I don't. I want to prove my point.
Because okay, so I asked you what human nature and change to individuals happened, like during the Industrial Revolution. Because we're still in the Industrial Revolution, so I know
Yeah.
you're like 100%
So,
false.
the desire. So before the Industrial Revolution, people wanted to have huge families. That desire has gone down. Human
Bro,
nature has gone from
what?
the need to reproduce.
Bro, did you just like look that up like 2 seconds ago and then? Okay,
No,
what's the reason that changed during the Industrial Revolution?
I don't know. Why does it matter why it changed? It changed.
That can just change over time.
You
By
said
your logic,
human. You just said a cultural revolution is a big change in human nature,
a
right?
big sudden change in human
Yeah.
nature,
So we
significant
went.
change.
We went from the desire to reproduce massively to keep our
Okay,
bloodline,
what period of time did
human
that change?
nature, to not having that need anymore, which is a big change.
Why did how did when did that change? What period of time did that change?
Um, Probably. I mean, if you look at now and back then, the average amount of people have now is one. Back then, it was like five. So I don't know exactly
The
where.
average, did you say the average amount of people that we have in a family is one?
No, I said the average amount of kids that a family wants.
It is not one. The average would probably be three or four. Let
That
me look up
people
the actual
want.
average.
Okay, average amount of
Okay, you can look it up if you want.
people in a family. 3.2.
So, it's
That's for
wrong.
Cuba.
That can happen over time.
Um,
And also, that could be
it's a big
explained with
cultural.
women's rights.
And
And
yeah, that's
not every small change in
it's
human
not a
nature.
small change.
Yes, it is. If
It's
we,
not.
I think that's probably a better chance because we'd have a way bigger population right now.
Yeah, it is. It is a good change, but it's still a big change.
Listen,
It's a
not
pretty.
every change is a cultural revolution.
I know.
Multiple here, I should probably go more specific. Multiple like characteristics of human nature have to change in a cultural revolution. There's no definition of cultural revolution that I could find. Here, I'll try to find one.
Okay. Still,
Definition. Okay. Okay. All I can find is China's Cultural Revolution because it was like called Cultural Revolution. Listen, not every change in human nature and not every change. I understand where you're coming from with this because that's a pretty big change, and that could be explained with literally just women's rights. That could be explained with multiple overlaying factors, but it's just not a cultural revolution. I would say that a cultural revolution has to be three or more characteristics of human nature
okay.
that
Right.
significantly change within a period of time.
Okay. So a big. First off, we have the desire to reproduce for a big family. That has changed, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
but how
Next,
can you say this? But the industrial revolution isn't over yet.
what? Yeah.
So are you saying we're in the middle? We've been in the middle of a cultural revolution for like decades.
I mean, sure, but it's
That's
already
just
changed
false.
so much. That doesn't. It's false. Okay, what's
It's
the
just false.
definition for a long time?
I said period within a period of time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're still within that period of time.
but so you can't argue that because the
How
cultural
can I
revolution
not?
hasn't ended yet.
Yeah, but we've already got to this
And also,
point.
it's not a cultural revolution if it just changes over time. I would literally argue that it has to be a short period of time because if it just changes within like a century, that's just human nature changing because of overlaying
Human
factors.
nature changing. That's what a cultural
No,
revolution is.
wait. Oh my
You
God. No, it
literally
isn't.
just told me that a cultural revolution is when
No, you're
human nature
strawmanning me. You're
changes.
strawmanning me. Literally, like that's your main problem. You strawman too much. Jesus. Literally,
Okay, tell me your definition of a
I
cultural
literally
revolution
told you. I'm not arguing
for the
like my
like.
definition anymore because
No, I'm
I've
just
told you
asking for more clarification.
literally
I am
multiple
getting
times.
very. I'm communication is key in a debate, and I apologize
And
if I am getting very mixed signals. But I ask um, because
and this is literally
I
getting
feel like
nowhere.
you've
Why does
told
this
me
matter?
multiple times, and
I
now I
think
feel like you're contradicting yourself. So
no,
I'm
you're literally contradicting yourself. You're saying that a cultural revolution is a big change of human nature.
yeah,
So that's a cultural revolution. An
yeah.
entire cultural revolution is when one characteristic of human nature changes.
No, when did I say that?
So you just contradicted yourself
How?
because you're saying that the industrial revolution brought a cultural
It
and also why does it matter if we've had cultural revolutions before?
I honestly can't remember what the point of that was before.
Then let's move on to the content of capitalism. And then we can, because we've been on the content of communism for 41 minutes.
I'm fine with that. I
Okay.
just want to show you that innovation doesn't.
It does work in
No, it
communism, and I
doesn't.
think I've proven that.
I think I've proven that it doesn't.
Well, I mean, you really haven't. All you've done is strawmanning, bro.
Oh, straw manning. I don't even know what that means at
It
this.
means you take someone's argument and you like.
You've done that to mine too.
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have.
And you didn't even let me finish. So how do you know what it is?
Okay, finish.
It's when you take someone's argument, make it simpler so it's easier to defend against, and then you make them think that that was their argument, and you're doing that now.
No, I'm
Let's
not.
move on to the
I'm trying
content
to
of
understand
capitalism.
your argument better. I'm not trying to
We've been
sit.
on this one. We haven't even just been on this content of communism for 42 minutes. We've been on this individual part of content of communism. We've been on innovation for
Yeah.
43 minutes. And I
Oh,
want to move on because I'm not here to debate whether or not innovation will happen in communism.
that's a
All
part
right,
of
so let me
capitalism
list my
versus
flaws
communism.
with capitalism.
Okay.
It's not our entire debate. This debate won't go on for like 4
I'm
hours.
not saying it will,
All
but
right, we're
you're
gonna move. If you can't
discrediting.
defend your ideology, why are you debating?
I'm literally defending my ideology.
No, you're not. You're
Yes,
attacking
I
mine.
am. You want me to say it again?
Let me list my flaws with capitalism,
Okay, go ahead.
and if we want to come back to that in a little bit, then we'll do that. It's not that hard. All right. Well, capitalism proposes little or no solution to persistent poverty, generates a growing level of income inequality, fails to pay a living wage to billions of workers, not enough human jobs in the face of growing automation, doesn't charge businesses with the full social cost of their activities, exploits the environment and natural resources in the absence of regulation, it creates business cycles and economic instability, emphasizes individualism and self-interest at the expense of community and the commons, encourages high consumer debt, and leads to a growing financially driven rather than producer-driven economy. Lets politicians and business interests collaborate to subvert the economic interests of majority of citizens, favors short-run profit planning over long-run investment planning, should have regulations regarding product quality, safety, truth in advertising, and anti-competitive behavior, tends to focus narrowly on GDP growth, and needs to bring social values into the market and happiness into the market equation. And food supply, 60. Wait, I'm not doing it. The defining characteristic of capitalism is the investors leveraging their wealth into the fruits of other people's work. So the problems with that is it's inherently counterproductive. The wealthy don't need more wealth. It's silly to design a system around putting scarce resources where they're needed the least. As capitalism does its thing and the rich get richer, that snowball of wealth naturally concentrates more and more of it into a few hands. Those wealthy elites get more and more powerful until, as Marx predicted 150 years ago, they overwhelm the public and the government. Corporate lobbyists tell the government what the policy to implement. And now, it's an economic system based on greed, one of the seven deadly sins. It's what's what is most profitable to corporations is often directly opposed to the good of society. For example, clear cutting lumber and dumping waste in the Handy River are much more cost effective than selectively cutting slash replanting and properly treating slash disposing of the waste. And the holy grail of health insurance is to sell as much expensive insurance as possible to young, healthy people who don't need it as much, while avoiding the sick and elderly who need lots of healthcare coverage. A healthcare system that actually doesn't work is it is for the sick is a bit nuts. Um, Most people would agree that ideally people should be rewarded based on the value of what they provide through hard work and or rare talent. Capitalism does that very poorly. Instead, it rewards people who are good at selling much more than the hardest worker or the most talented scientist. Agents make more than the talented athletes they represent. Inventors who come up with something incredible are subject to having rely on promoters, and venture capitalists and manufacturers who may be motivated to control the invention, obviously for as bad a deal as possible from the investor's perspective, or someone who might simply reverse engineer and steal it from them. I have a couple more, but I'm not going to listen.
So, from what I caught, because you were going very fast, you said that the agent gets more money.
I'll go back over the reward and incentives.
You said the agent gets more money than the athlete, which is not.
Capitalism rewards the people who are good at selling much more than the hardest worker.
No.
Yeah. Are you telling me that Are you telling me that Jeff Bezos makes less than the hardest worker at Apple?
Nope. I'm not telling you that, but at the end of the day, Jeff Bezos did make Amazon. And Jeff Bezos did
you still haven't disproved my point. You're just explaining why they do that. I understand why they do that. I understand. What's your point?
My point
it's still
is
messed up.
Agents, okay. I'm just saying that the point that the agents get more than the actual talented people in sports is not true. Along with, so like in music, you have a producer that also, you have the producer and you have the artist, and then you have the agent. If you think about it, that artist wouldn't be where it was without the agent. So the agent should be rewarded.
Okay. Actually, you could definitely like do the producer's work, but a producer is worthless without the music artist. So why should the person who's unnecessary,
hypothetically speaking, the artist, depending on its talent skill, is useless without the producer?
No.
Yeah,
you could easily learn a producer's job.
I know you can learn how to do the producer's job, and the producer can learn how to make music. A lot of producers.
That's not how it works. You're a band kid, right?
Yeah,
you understand that not everybody can sing, not everybody can play instruments as well, no matter how much they
want. Not everybody can produce, no matter how much they want.
No, they can.
No, they can't.
That's something you learn.
It's just a matter on what you learn. You can learn how to play piano.
More talented than other people.
Can you repeat that?
So, I mean, like, if you're like a talented piano player, then and also if they did that, then they would just be the artist. So I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, a lot of producers actually make their own music.
Yeah,
maybe they don't.
You can flip that around and say most artists make a lot of artists make their own producers. So yeah,
okay, that
because they're still an artist. Doesn't matter which one they did first.
Producer.
It doesn't matter if they were an artist and became a producer too, or if they were a producer and became an artist too.
But you're saying that. So you told me that the producer can't go anywhere without the artist.
The producer cannot go anywhere without the artist, and if they become the artist, then they are the artist.
Yeah, a producer can still go somewhere without an artist.
What would the producer do?
They make their own music. They're the artist.
Then they're the artist. I just said that.
Yeah, that. A producer can become an artist can become a producer, and they can be
But
both.
if the producer becomes an artist, they're not like their main job is the artist. It's not the
No,
producer.
it just
Then they're
depends
not the
what they
problem
like more.
anymore.
If they can make music and they make music, and they've made it
So
before.
you're still not like proving any points. You're just saying what I've said too.
No, not
We
really.
agree on
Your
this.
point was that, yeah,
My point
you
was that
agree
if
that
you
it goes
hire a
either way.
producer,
Your point is that the agent gets more money than the person that does it, and
yeah,
in
but
some
the person
aspects
who's
that's
more
true, but in
talented and
other
working
aspects,
harder is
what?
making less money. Do you not see the immorality in this?
Selling is just as hard as doing the thing.
No, it's not.
Yes, it
You
is.
play an instrument, right? How many
Yes,
instruments
I
do you
play
play?
like 7.
I play alto. I play
I'm a percussionist, so granted, I
okay.
play 200.
That's why.
Yeah.
I can play percussion too, but not that good. Do you think that do you since I'm in marching bands, all right,
Yeah.
and if I were to become an artist,
Yeah.
I would be able to like go to classes and watch videos on how to sell and produce my own music. But a producer, unless they are the artist, can't be the artist. You cannot be you cannot
So
be
you're
the
telling me
artist. No, no,
that,
no, no, please. That sounded bad. If I don't get to finish,
yeah,
um, if you're just an artist who produces their own music, you're not a producer who makes the
their
music.
own music. Yeah.
So
It
you be
goes
the
either way.
artist,
An
not the.
artist can be its own producer. So an artist can produce its own music, and a producer can produce its
So why is it moral for the producer to make more money if the artist could do it on their own?
I'm it's the producer can do it on their own too. I'm
No,
saying
they
they can get
producer
an equal amount of.
like you can't just be better at singing.
Yes, you
Like
can. It's called learning.
you don't.
When I was like
Okay,
5,
there's a
learning to
little
play
bit of
violin for
there's like
5 minutes,
learning and singing.
I
You have to
learned
learn
how
how to
to
do
do it.
it. But if you singing and playing an instrument is very different. Playing an instrument is all learning,
Yeah,
except for lung capacity and stuff like that. But
you
I
don't
would
have to
argue
sing.
that singing is more talent than it is learning.
You don't have to sing to make music.
Well, I mean,
You realize that, right?
most popular artists are like they sing.
It depends on the genre you listen to. Like EDM, there's almost no lyrics,
Okay,
and you can sing auto tune.
so you're still not disproving the. You're not still
I'm just
not
trying to say
saying how
that
it's
it's
moral for
okay
the
for the
producer.
seller and the artist to get paid equally. They,
No, why? But the producer isn't actually doing the work. The
yes,
producer would
it
be
is.
nowhere without the
Have you
artist.
ever produced music? They do like
Yeah, pretty much.
85% of the work.
No, they
Yes,
don't.
they
Have
do.
you
You
ever
write a
like
couple of chords.
Have you ever like written music,
Yes, I have. And
played
I
it,
have produced,
recorded it, mastered it, memorized it, and then like did
produced.
all the parts?
Yeah, and then
That
I have
takes
produced it.
that takes.
Producing is like 85% of it. You can write
No,
chords
it's not. I could easily
about it.
produce some. I
You
would
can
have to
write
watch
lyrics.
maybe two YouTube videos on how to produce and write, produce and sell music.
What?
Literally, if you have a budget, it's extremely easy. Doing it for free is hard, but nothing else. And they would be nowhere if there was no artist. Because
And
if
the
they
artist
became
would
the
be
artist,
nowhere
then
if
they
they
would be the
didn't have a
artist.
producer. The artist can. The fact of the matter is, whether the artist is the producer for itself, the artist
You're still not proving how it's moral for them to make even the same.
even the same. What do you mean? How it's not more? They both put an equal amount of work in.
That's well. How do you know how much this individual puts like that's
Because,
extremely subjective.
wait, hold on. Um, what do you say? Extremely subjective.
Yeah, to say that they put in the equal amount of effort,
Yeah,
like I've
that's
made
insane.
music before,
Do you want
and
me to go to
it's
every?
not the same amount of effort to put a track on like SoundCloud or Spotify than it is to make the actual music.
Do you know what a producer does?
Yeah, you go ahead and tell me what the producer does.
Okay, it doesn't just put this stuff on SoundCloud.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I said, right?
Yeah, it doesn't just do that though.
Okay,
They
they
have a
they
master. They basically
they put
make,
everything together.
yeah, and they like if it's just four chords, oftentimes the producers actually add a lot of the instruments. Do you know
It's
Billy?
not just producers though. There's also
That's what
um
producers do.
what? You're still not
No,
proving how it's moral. You haven't proved how it's moral.
it is moral.
How is it
They
moral
put in an
for Jeff
equal amount of
Bezos
work.
to no? Let's use Jeff Bezos and the Amazon worker. How is it moral that somebody who just came up with the idea of Amazon to make more money, significantly more money than the hardest worker at Amazon?
That's just as subjective too. You don't know
No,
how
how is it subjective? Explain to me how
you
that's
don't know
subjective.
how hard you know how hard it
The
is to
hardest
control
worker at
a
Amazon. The
you can
hardest worker
argue
at
that the
Amazon.
CEOs are the hardest working too. You know how hard it is
What?
to handle a multi.
Jeff Bezos is not the hardest worker at Amazon.
How do you know that?
Because I know
Really
people who work at
subjective.
Amazon, and I would bet you all of my life savings, literally my entire life, that Jeff Bezos does not work as hard as they do.
It doesn't mean what?
My mom covers advertising for
Okay.
partially covers advertising for Amazon, and she
Yeah.
works so much harder than I bet you
Do you
Jeff
know how
Bezos
hard
does.
Jeff Bezos works? Have you personally asked him how hard?
Have you personally asked him?
No, I haven't. I'm just saying.
I'm saying that why is it fair for the CEO or the founder to make more money than the worker?
It just depends on how hard they work. It's all subjective, like you said. So this point is really hard
Your
to
point is extremely flawed, and so is mine. But I mean,
so then we just both agree that both of our points are stupid and we're not in the
but
right.
like the overall point is not dumb. Like you could say it's subjective, but I don't really care. That doesn't disprove the argument. I would bet you money that out of every single worker that works any partial part of
You
Amazon,
don't know that.
they
So
work harder
you
than
don't know.
then you don't know that
I don't
innovation
know
won't
that
happen in
either.
communism, and I don't know anything like this because I've never witnessed it
We've seen
firsthand.
what's
I've
happening.
never witnessed capitalism firsthand. You've never witnessed communism firsthand.
Yeah, you can literally look back and look at the multiple countries. Multiple countries still use communism right now.
Oh, name them, because I'll disprove all of them,
China.
because that's the dumbest point that I've ever heard in my entire life. Name every communist country. There's never been any.
I said there's multiple, or there was multiple.
No, list them.
Okay. List what?
List the communist countries.
USSR.
USSR is not
North
communist. They
Korea.
had private property. They had money. They had social classes. They had
Except it was set up in a communist form.
no wait. What is a communist form?
It's okay.
Like they had no communist policies.
But they
had absolutely zero communist policies. And as a former
they
leftist, I thought you would know
they had
this.
the communist ideas. They were trying to get to it. They were trying to
Stalin
get
was a Marxist Leninist, but that does not mean that the entire country was communist.
the Okay. The country.
The country itself did not have any communist policies
Yes, it
at
did.
all. Name one. Name one that it had.
I'm not gonna go back into USSR and look at all the communist policies they have.
No, because they have zero, so it won't be very hard.
They don't.
Name a communist policy they have. They have private property.
Okay.
They have money.
Let me
Social classes.
search this up then.
Just because the leader of a country is communist does not mean that the country is communist. Also, USSR only failed because of other factors, such as Stalin being a freaking complete idiot.
That's also an issue with communism. There is
What?
a big point of communism is like abolishing classism, right? Which is a good idea.
What? Wait. Did you say that abolishing classes is bad?
No, I said it's a big point of communism, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they didn't.
Oh yeah, no, I know. But the way communism is set up, the way they elect leaders, ultimately makes.
There are no leaders. It's a direct democracy. That's why the USSR failed, because they had a dictator of the. That's why Marxist-Leninism is dumb and it ruins the communism for everyone.
Okay, so say that they don't have any leaders. Who is to regulate what? You can't literally say,
What? That, bro, again, like, you're gonna make my brain die. Jesus.
I'm sorry.
If it's a direct democracy, what's the point in leaders? I believe
I'm
that
okay,
we
so say
might,
there's
if
no
we have
leaders.
to implement leaders, we'll
Okay,
only do it.
say there's no
Go
leader.
ahead.
There
Yeah,
is
there's
no
no
leader.
leaders.
Do you think that human morality is going to be enough?
What? No.
I
That's
did
why
let me
communes
explain.
enforce laws.
Human
You
morality.
really know nothing about communism, do you, bro?
Are you going to let me finish talking?
You just said that there's no one to enforce laws, but there literally is.
You didn't even hear the rest of my point. I never said there's no one to
You
enforce.
said who's gonna regulate everything.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. You want me to play
I,
back a clip? Let's
yeah,
play
sure.
back a clip.
Play back a clip.
Okay,
What I said was,
let's play back the clip.
okay, go find a clip of it. But while you're finding a clip of it, can I please finish my point? And
Hold on, I'm right there. I'm
if
like
I
on it.
misspoke, that's my bad. I didn't mean to say that. Okay, I didn't mean.
Ready?
Do you understand that? That was not my.
Wait. Shh. Who is to regulate what?
That's also an issue with there is what a big point of communism is like abolishing classes.
That abolishing class is bad.
No, I said it's a big point. I know, but the way communism is set up, the way they elect leaders, ultimately makes.
There are no leaders. It's a direct democracy. That's why the USSR failed. Because they had a dictator. That's why Marxist-Leninism.
They don't have any leaders. Who is to regulate what?
If they don't have any leaders, who is to regulate what?
No, okay. Can you?
Are you just denying that you said it when I just played back the clip?
I couldn't hear it very clear. You can send me the clip. I'm fine with that. But if I said that, that wasn't what I mean. That's my bad. That's my bad.
Different, but just to like answer that question, because a lot of people don't know, different communes would enforce laws.
Okay. So different communes. What would make up of those communes? Like how would that?
I don't know. I don't know I wouldn't know every single commune.
I'm not saying that, but
Also, can I just say communist country is an oxymoron?
what?
Communist country is an oxymoron.
Do you know what an oxymoron is?
Yeah.
No.
Communism is global. It's not. Which is why I don't think we'll have a revolution in the next couple centuries.
Oh. So you're telling me you can. I get that communism is global, but you can still have.
No, it's an oxymoron. It's a literal oxymoron.
Okay.
Like by definition, it's an oxymoron.
Okay, whatever. So you're saying that different communes would enforce laws. Who would lead those communes? Who would be a part of those
No one's
communes?
gonna lead a commune. That's like saying who's gonna lead a household. Like
Okay, who's gonna make decisions?
the commune.
So
Do you know what a commune is?
people. Yeah. Okay. So the group of people is gonna make the decisions, right? What happens when?
No, it's not just like a huge group of people. It's
Okay.
like a bunch of like smaller groups.
Okay. So say you have this commune. Okay, what are the smaller groups then?
What? It's just
Are they, like,
communes.
smaller communes?
I mean, I'm not gonna explain communes. I mean, it's pretty simple. I like most debates are like that, and I don't want to do that.
A group of people living together and sharing possessions.
Can we just talk about the food supply in capitalism? 40 million tons
You're
of
not
food.
even letting me finish my point.
I know. I have to talk about it.
Before we move on.
Oh, okay. Then you can finish your point about asking me what communes are. That's not a point.
No. Communes, the definition of communes is a group of people living together and sharing possessions and responsibilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Well,
all these groups and
debatable,
people
but-
together, and they're trying to make a decision together on what to do. You have two people disagreeing. I assume
Listen,
it can go to a
if
majority.
somebody does a crime bad enough to have to call in a commune, it's not a debatable topic. If somebody were to murder somebody, they'd probably be exiled or killed.
Where did that even come up?
You
I was saying
said,
they're trying to make a group decision, right? In their commune.
but if a commune has to come in, it's probably it's a huge.
Commune is a group of people living together.
That's very debatable. Jesus.
You just confirmed that a group of people living together and sharing possessions and responsibilities.
Yeah, and then I said that's debatable as you started talking.
Yeah, I know. Okay, whatever. So you have this group of people, right? They share responsibilities. I'm just gonna throw commune right out the window.
Wait,
Whatever.
let me just ask you this: do you read theory?
Do I read what?
Theory, like Conquest of Bread.
Very broad term.
It's really not.
Theory?
Do you read theory?
Do you read
Do you
theory?
read theory like Conquest of Bread, like Karl Marx, Kropotkin?
Yes, I read some theories.
Not theories, like books of theory, like
Yeah.
something happening in theory.
Yeah.
What have you read?
Something happening in theory is a theory. And I've
No,
read,
not like small little theories. It's like
yeah, I know.
not like theory, the books, like
Theory doesn't have an okay. I'm
like Karl Marx, Kropotkin, Lenin, like stuff like that. Those are big communist ones. Like, have you read Conquest of Bread?
no.
That answers a lot of questions about
Okay,
communists.
cool. I'll read that later. So back to my point. You have a group of people living together, right?
I've already answered this.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying right so that you don't get angry at me and play a clip back of something that I said when I didn't exactly.
But I've already answered this. Why risk it more?
Sorry, that was my bad. It's a rhetorical question.
But I've already answered this rhetorical question. Like you said it and I answered it already.
Okay. Well, this time it was rhetorical. You have a group of people living together. They need to come to a decision.
I already answered. If it's bad enough for a commune to come in.
Finish my thing, though?
You've already said this exact
I
freaking
know,
question.
but you never let me finish. They're coming to a decision. What happens when two people disagree? I assume
like I answered earlier,
right?
If it's bad enough for a commune to come in.
I never said I literally just said that.
You said the definition, the textbook definition of commune.
Terms. You have a group.
Then it doesn't matter because it's not communism, so I don't really care what they come to a decision.
Can you let me finish before you have a group of people living together. Throw out the communes. Throw whatever.
But you just said the textbook definition of commune. So if this group of people had to come in a communist society,
no, the group of people are deciding within themselves a decision to make.
If that group of people had to come in during a communist society, then it would be so bad enough to where it's not really debatable. Like they would that economy would take be the people to exile that person.
When a group of
why don't cops
make
do this?
Decision, it's bad enough because there's a crime.
When if it's communes when there would be no laws necessarily laws, so it wouldn't be like crime. I mean, in like murder. If somebody murders somebody else, then a commune would come in. Unless they're freaking fascist.
Throw out the commune part. It's a group of people trying to make a decision for the better of their society.
Why does this matter?
You're not letting me get to the point.
Okay, then finish.
When two people disagree, I assume it goes to like a majority vote, right?
Yep. Well, yeah. It's two people.
Well, that's an issue with commune. Hold up, let me.
So direct democracy is an issue?
No. Hold up. Let me find my point. Where did I write this down?
I don't understand how democracy is an issue. The issue is not having a democracy in capitalism.
So when two people disagree, it goes to a majority vote, right? What if a big group of people and another big group of people disagree on it, and neither of them?
Okay, if they disagree on that, then it's majority rules.
Yeah.
The direct democracy is the only way we're ever gonna get anywhere.
Say, they're perfectly equal, which I know is
tiebreaker.
What would
you get someone else to vote?
someone out of the
In
country.
like an election, you
It's not an
recount.
election, though. I'm saying for like a decision. You have two people who have
But I mean, an
different
election
ideas.
is a
So
decision. But okay.
more people. So you have two people with differing ideas on the way to move forward. One
Yeah.
person gains a lot of people. The second person gains a lot of people, and the other one will not budge. They're like this. It has to go this way. This is stupid that you think it's going to go that way, and the other one is like, well, your thing is stupid.
Okay, then it goes to
Communism relies
majority.
on cooperation a lot, and if they just don't cooperate, it falls apart.
Where are they gonna go to? Neptune?
What
Like literally,
to move
it's
like
listen,
forward on how to handle
listen.
public?
It's direct democracy. Whatever they
Oh my
want,
god!
whatever the majority of people want, I'll go with because I believe in a
Except
direct
not
democracy.
everybody does that,
What?
and you need. Okay, it relies on cooperation a lot. So, say you want to figure out how
Cultural
you
revolution.
handle this chunk of land, and you're like, okay, well, let's see who needs it and what's the best way to go about that. Is that a realistic situation in a communist society?
Wait, so can you repeat that?
So you're trying to decide what to do with these resources, and you're looking at um, who needs the resources most. You're trying to distribute it evenly, and you're trying to think on what's the best way to do it. Is that a real?
Direct democracy. Everything goes to a vote.
Oh my god! I'm not asking if it would go to
You
a
asked
vote.
me
And
how we're gonna how
I'm
we're gonna
asking
come
if
to a
it's a
decision on how to
realistic
do it.
situation that people are trying to figure out how to distribute it, right?
So
You can't. I know you'd vote. You can't vote if you don't have two ideas.
if you
This
don't
is
have two
literally
ideas, then you just do
basically.
the idea that
Is
you
it
have.
realistic that people would want to figure out how to distribute stuff?
What?
Is it real? It's a simple question. Is it realistic in a communist society that people have to figure out how to distribute stuff?
Sure, I don't know. Like
Okay.
that's such a weird
Just
question.
gonna
Yeah,
go.
you always have to
Just
figure out.
gonna go with yes. Then you have two differing ideas, right?
Then you vote.
Everything goes to a vote. You have two differing ideas. Um, since you don't exactly have a force to enforce that side one, not everybody is going to do what the other side wants, even if it's put up to a vote.
What, that are you saying that doesn't happen in capitalism?
What?
Like, look at our president.
I
He
know.
literally said he
Oh,
might
yeah,
refuse to
I'm
leave.
well aware. But if you really strongly don't agree with that, and if you get enough people, communism just falls apart because if they're just not.
Okay, tell me this. All right, so you get this massive amount of people. All right, to oppose an idea. If it's not majority, what are they gonna do? If everybody has guns, then who do you think is gonna win? Majority or non-majority?
And really depends, as you can see in the American Revolution.
If they win, then they win. It doesn't
I
matter.
know, but that literally goes against like communism.
And how are you gonna tell me that communism is gonna fall apart when capitalism is literally based on being temporary?
On what temporaries?
Capitalism is based on being temporary.
Okay,
You can't have capitalism if you don't have communism.
can it? What?
You don't read theory, and it's
I
actually
have to go.
obvious.
Can we continue this later?
What?
I have to go.
Well, we can't really continue it later, but
Do you want to schedule another debate on this?
not really. Can we like? Do you have to go like right now, or can we like
No, I
finish it
can
up?
wait for like 15 more minutes.
Okay, you have 15 more minutes. We can end it at an hour and 30 minutes of debating because I think we can end it in 15 minutes. So let's talk about food supply. 40 million tons of food is wasted every year in the United States. So I would argue we have enough to We would have enough to provide for everybody in the United States.
Yeah.
All right. So would you agree?
Yeah.
All right. So good. I don't even have to argue food supply at this point.
Yeah.
All right. So so um. Planned obsolescence is a big problem in capitalism. Consumerism.
Can you define that?
What?
Optimism. Can you?
Obsolescence. I don't know. I can send you the link for it where I found this one.
Okay. Well, if you
It's
don't,
it's
okay.
a strategy of deliberately ensuring that the current version of a given product will come out of date or useless within a known period of time, like what Apple did with the old iPhones failing when the new one came out. They got sued for it.
Okay.
Consumerism. Um, all healthcare sparing goes straight to the GDP. There's a lot of flaws with capitalism that I'm not comfortable with.
There's a lot
But there are very few
with
flaws with
communism
communism.
too, which I'm not comfortable with.
Name 10 flaws with communism, and I'll name
Innovation.
30 with capitalism.
30. Okay. It, so innovation, right? At first.
I've already disproved this.
Okay. No, you haven't. I've already disproved your other point. Oh crap.
No, you haven't.
Other parts of with other parts of capitalism.
I've already listed. Currently, I've listed around 23 flaws with capitalism, and you've listed about 2.
Okay. Well, then I
Communism.
list all of mine.
And we've spent around
Yeah.
25 minutes on content of capitalism, and we spent around an hour on capitalism.
Cap. Okay. So innovation is difficult in the communism.
Oh shit! I messed up.
Do you want me? Okay.
Dude, okay. So
Innovation is
I'm not
much more
gonna ask you to back up.
for me. The requirement on human morals is a big issue for me.
The requirement on
Is that
human morals.
political, and the way that the political and what's the word for it? Why can't I think of it? The way that the political and group decision thing in communism, I do not like.
You don't like democracy?
No, it's just
You don't like democracy. You don't like democracy because you're a freaking capitalist. Capitalism is extremely undemocratic.
I just okay. What I don't like how it plays out and its reliance on cooperation. And if it doesn't work, it's reliance on shooting each other.
What? Bro, do you know what a revolution is?
If you refuse to do something.
Revolution isn't what they teach you revolution is. It's not always violent.
Not talking.
Revolution can be peaceful and quiet.
I'm talking about something we just talked about, how if people are just refusing to do something the majority wants, you're saying that it goes
No, I said that laws don't exist, but there are still some basic things like
I know
murder. How are you going to say that, but then you support a system that forces and implements unjust laws on their citizens? And
haven't
promotes
talked about murder at all for this thing. I'm talking about
I didn't talk about murder
or food disputes.
Food disputes.
Some people think they want to distribute it differently. The only thing that you've told me
is vote.
No, and if the only thing that you told me, if they don't agree with that after a vote and they refuse to budge, the only thing you've told me you do is just shoot them.
Nope, that's not what revolution means.
I'm not saying it's a revolution. If you play back a clip,
I literally said revolution. So I mean, I don't know.
Did I say revolution?
No,
I didn't mean a revolution.
No, I said revolution. I said if they don't agree, if they get a group of people that don't agree with communism, they can revolt. And honestly, that's one decision that they make in the begin, and in the beginning of, at the end of the
Whatever.
revolution. I don't know why that's a flaw.
What was I saying? Where? The only fuel behind success is the betterment of human nature.
Nope, there are more.
Okay,
Personal gain, other
person.
things like that.
You have personal gain too, but you have more personal gain in a capitalist society with.
Which is sad.
Okay, it is sad.
Capitalism is
Work.
inherently counterproductive.
It no,
Yeah,
it
it
works.
is extremely counterproductive.
How?
It the wealth. I mean, the wealthy don't need more wealth.
But they want more wealth.
It's dumb to design a system around putting scarce resources where they're needed the least.
That's not.
As capitalism does its thing and the rich get richer, that snowball of wealth naturally concentrates more and more in it and more of it into a few hands. Those wealthy elites get more and more powerful until, as Marx predicted 150 years ago, and as we see all around us today, they overwhelm the public and the government. Corporate lobbyists tell the government what policy to implement, what policy to implement and
You don't think
control the politics.
you don't think big companies shouldn't have a say in politics?
No, why would they? Their goal is to like ruin the environment while
It's
they're
not ruin the environment.
do you
Not
want me to
all
list
big companies.
my stats on ruining the environment, capitalism ruining the
Not all big
environment?
companies' first idea is to ruin the.
No, you didn't let me finish. I don't know how
Okay,
you
it's
think that.
Communism.
I said, I worded it weird, but I was basically going to say that they don't care if they ruin the environment while they have personal gain. And their main goal is to exploit customers as much as possible.
Okay, that makes sense. Um, but there's regulations that
Those
you
regulations are also counterproductive.
how
What?
how are the regulations to help with that counter?
What name a regulation that we currently have implemented?
I've never said we currently have it, but they're
Yes, because it's impossible to get past in a capitalist society, because restrict that would restrict individual companies' rights.
no. That's
Then back up your
restriction.
claim. Why no?
Restrictions don't make it impossible to get forward in a capitalist society. That makes no
What?
sense.
I literally never said that. I
Okay,
said
they would.
regulations don't work. And I said, but I really didn't even say that. I said we don't have any regulations because it's impossible to get a regulation passed on a private company.
No, it's been done before.
Okay, then name it. Name what regulations we put in place on companies for the environment.
Well, a while back, they placed the regulation on the filters that they have to have on. I don't know the exact name of the thing, but they placed regulations on the the fumes after the London smog. They placed regulations on the how they disperse of the fume, and they've required certain filters to be
Did it work?
on. Yeah, it
So
did.
it worked. So it helped the environment, even
They're
though you see the environment's
they're
like
using,
constantly declining.
it's they're using the regulation that they put in place.
What?
That regulation at the first time.
You're losing your argument, G.
How?
Like you haven't provided a good argument. Come on. You only have 6 minutes left. Let's go. All right. So yeah, capitalism's dumb.
So is communism. The idea
How
of
is it dumb? If
the
it's the
idea
end
of
goal, then
communism
how is it
is
dumb?
not a bad idea. It's just never worked.
It's never been fully implemented. Like I've
But
already disproved the USSR. I can disprove China. I can disprove Venezuela. I can disprove literally anything.
whatever. I'm going. Can we continue this later?
Bro, you got like 6 minutes left, right?
No, I have 4 minutes left.
Okay, then let's do 4 minutes. Let's just
What
finish it.
can we do in 4 minutes?
I mean, you could provide arguments.
I've already provided arguments.
Yeah, and I've just proved them. You literally believe
haven't
that
disproven
communism has been implemented before, so
have
you
not-
obviously don't know much on the topic.
You haven't even disproved my first innovation argument.
I literally have multiple times. You want me to play back the clip on that too?
It-
You literally
it- it-
you proved to me tonight that you don't know anything about communism because you said that communism has been fully implemented before.
Okay, maybe I did say that.
Yeah,
But
you've proved to me you don't know
the
anything
idea
about
for
communism.
innovation in communism, it doesn't give a big personal gain factor. Like it does give a personal gain factor.
Why is that bad?
I'm never said that's bad.
Then why is it a flaw in communism?
Factor, but it doesn't give you a big enough personal gain factor.
You
to
just said
outweigh
you
money.
never answered my flaw on communism. And
What?
then when I said, how is that bad? You said, I never said it was bad.
What?
You said you never answered my first point on how the communism doesn't give enough personal. Like you said something like you were talking about flaws with communism, and I said, how is that bad? And you said, I never said it was bad. So you contradicted yourself.
How?
Because you said that it was bad, and then immediately went and said that you never said it was bad. You said it was a flaw, and then never said it was, and said you never said it was bad. So why are you using it as an argument if you never said it was bad?
I'm so confused. What I said was personal. What I meant was personal gain is not bad. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, what I said, how is it bad to not have to have less personal gain? And you said you never said it was bad.
Yeah, it's
so why is it bad to have less personal gain?
Because you get discouraged. You have failure upon failure upon failure.
Do you have any proof to back you up on that?
Gain in communism.
No, you have no proof to back you up on that because communism has never been tried.
It's the basic idea of communism.
Literally, like you could go on a subreddit or something like that and see hundreds of answers on that, and that's one of the most commonly used arguments. Fine, I'll do that.
I don't exactly trust subreddit, and I have to go. So,
all right, well, this freaking debate was extremely like capitalism. It was very counterproductive. We stuck on like 3 points for like an hour.
Okay.
All right. Well,
we can
it's a good debate, I guess. I don't want to debate this again, especially with you, to be honest.
Okay.
Sean made my arguments. I'm just saying.
Bye.
All right. Bye.